Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how to set a stone with these Talon Claw Prongs. So first up, I will show you my little setup here. I use a vice grip for stone setting. Attach it to my desk. It swivels all around. I'll have it linked in my description with everything I'm using. And then I have this ring holder, which adds some extra height, which you don't actually need. You could just wrap your ring with a piece of leather cloth and put that in the vise, rather than using this wooden ring clamp. So I sometimes do it both ways. And then we have some pliers I'll show you. This is a prong pusher. It has a little groove in it so that the prong sits in there. And it's just got a wooden handle. These are specific prong setting pliers, which I really like. I'm showing you the gemstone I'm using, which is a kyanite rose cut. And then I also keep some pliers handy that are like a flat nose. They don't have any groove or anything. And then I have my safety glasses and I wear a mask as well. So here is where I'm using the flat nose pliers, and I am just getting a good grip of like the very corner and prying my prongs open. So I created this with wax first and then had it cast in the sterling silver. So you can watch my previous videos on how I created it with wax if you're interested. And once I get all four of these up high enough, I have to make sure I can get the stone in and make sure the stone sits well. And oftentimes when you are getting things casted, when they come back to you, they have shrunk a tiny, tiny bit. So sometimes the gemstone isn't going to fit exactly the same. And so I'm going to show you what we do about that. So I'm not really able to get the stone sitting in, and that's just because I need to open up the prongs a little bit more. And so just do a little bit at a time and keep checking, because you don't want to overdo it and snap things off backwards the wrong way. And you don't want to do it so many times going back and forth, because then that's going to weaken the joint where it's attached, and then it can break off that way too. So once I've got it sitting in there, I just am going to do a check for how flat it's sitting, and I am going to chisel away on the inside a little bit. And so I need to see like what area it might be sitting a little bit higher than another area, and take note of where we're going to remove some metal so that it can flatten out. In this video, I'll be using a Dremel. I just bought a flex shaft, but I hadn't used it yet. In this video, a Dremel works just fine for some of these steps, and I bought a ball burst set, which is a smaller shaft than a Dremel because it's made for a flex shaft. So then I had to buy this attachment for my Dremel so that it's a chuck or a collet, and you can open it up and it doesn't have one specific size like the original Dremel chuck does, or collet actually. It's usually only 1/8 of an inch, and then this attachment allows it to be any size you need. So I use that to chisel away on the inside. I use like a medium-sized ball burr, about 2 millimeters maybe. And so just do a little bit at a time, and then you can keep checking. And now I'm switching to like a grinding wheel, a very thin one. And I'm gonna get this little wheel very, very carefully right underneath each of these prongs. You can skip this step if you don't want to do it this way. You definitely could risk messing up your prongs at this point, but I just very gently get it flat against the bottom. And this is because with the wax process, sometimes you're going to end up with some unevenness and chunky bits underneath your prong that you couldn't really get to with while it was in wax, so you can get to it now that these prongs are open. So I just do a tiny bit with the sanding wheel. I don't go too far with it, and then I switch to using my metal hand files, very small needle files. And I do that just to finish it off so that I didn't overdo it with my Dremel. So here I just take some time to clean up the shape of each of these talons and get them nice and even with each other, and just get that triangular shape that I'm looking for. And so using a few different files here, kind of just whatever feels right. And this one in particular that's in my hand is a brite file, I believe it's called, which is a very useful one because it only has the file part on one side and then it's completely smooth on the back side. So that way you can get into crevices and stuff and you're not going to be affecting or scratching things around it. So, yep, pop that gemstone back in. See how everything looks before we start pushing them down. Make sure everything looks even. And here we have the pusher. So I start with that tool first just to get everything pushed pretty far down. I'm probably not quite touching the gemstone yet. And just give it like a good amount of pressure. A little bit of ease. Be very careful not to slip. That's a big thing. I'm in particularly using a kind of soft gemstone. This is a kyanite. It's a little bit lower on the MOH scale. So that's something to always keep in mind. Harder gemstones are going to be a little less scary to work with. But yeah, this one was soft. Okay, so now I'm grabbing these prong pushing pliers. And one thing I want to let you guys know about these, I didn't do that in this video, but I've learned to do this in the future, is to wrap the bottom part of the pliers with a soft piece of cloth or something that you're going to protect the underneath part of the ring, because it can definitely leave like a gouge mark or just a scratch because you're applying all of that pressure. So I also do some straightening before I have them fully down. They're pretty close to the gemstone at this point, so I want to do one last final like arrangement, make sure they're all kind of pointing in a direction that I like. And when I do all the final pushing, you want to be looking for any space that's left and then apply pressure in those areas little by little. Go very gently at this point, because now we could risk cracking our stone if you're really jamming down. So just go a little bit at a time. And if you have any space, then people are going to have their hair cut in it. And that's always a big issue for me. So that's something I try and be super mindful at this point. So you kind of look at it from the side and see if there's any gaps and all that, and close them up as best as you can. And the last bit of work we'll have here is just to file away by hand. I use my hand files and clean up the shapes one last time. Now that everything's sitting flat, we can now see maybe more imperfections in each of the shape. Some are going to be a little bit higher than the other ones, so I just round off all the tops a little bit more, clean up the triangle shapes a little bit more, get everything as perfect as I can do it. And once you finish off all that last bit of filing, you are ready for a final polish. So look out for a whole separate video on my polishing steps. I have a lot to share with you guys on that. And that's it for this ring. Hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe for more videos on lost wax carving. Have a great day. So look out for that video next, and let me know if you guys have any questions about the prong setting, or stones, or casting, or carving, or any of that. Let me know, and there'll be lots more videos of all of that ahead, as well as stained glass videos, which is my other current art form obsession. So if any of that interests you, please like and subscribe. And let's take a final look at this ring out in the sunshine. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!